Hey, welcome to my video on the Yardstick of Life. Life is divided into multiple stages. It's a journey, and each stage has its own unique challenges and lessons and rewards. So, assuming that the average life expectancy is 90 years, we can divide this journey into three distinct 30-year periods, each serving a specific purpose in shaping who we are and how we experience the world around us. So before I go on, I'm introducing to you and I'm inviting you to take a complimentary course online if you use our code on how not to retire. In other words, most people, like almost everybody, when it comes to retirement, think only about money. Everything's about money. What if it's not? What if the most important aspect is not about money, but it's about you individually, your identity, your purpose? In other words, what are you going to do for a lifestyle? Who are you now that you're not retiring? Or now that you're retired. So let's go into this right away. So the first thing we have is we call it the forming stage, ages 0 to 30. So this is a time in life where there's so all the learning takes place. It's also where all the trauma happens. There's growth and development. This is kind of your first half of life, if you put it that way. You're trying to survive to get through those initial 30 years. And then what you're hoping is that the mistakes you make are given a chance to have a retake. So we do retakes with those mistakes. And we sometimes will struggle to find who we are, to find our place in the world. So these experience that we have and these lessons that we learn offer us and allow us to develop the resilience we need to shape who we are because we're going to have lots of more challenges and we're going to have opportunities ahead of us. That is the forming years. Now, the next third, if you will, is the growing and the achieving stage. So this is where we see the results of our efforts. Well, at least we hope we see the results of our efforts. And during this stage, we often experience really high highs, but we go through some pretty difficult times. Something happens to our children, a loved one. Work doesn't always go the way we want it to. And this stage is also marked by a deepening of relationships. That's what it's designed to do, both personal and professional. So, as we navigate these complex dynamics that happen to us, and we learn communication skills, emotional intelligence, if you will, and we start building lasting friendships, connections with others, we are simultaneously confronted with our limitations. And it fosters growth when done correctly, when we look at it as an opportunity. But what happens when we don't? I'm suggesting that the next stage, the golden years, are where we get to do a retake. We get to live intentionally. This is a time that we can redo the earlier years and do it correctly. We know so much more now that we didn't know before. This is a time when we have the opportunity to enjoy the fruits of our labors, to pursue our passions, to find new ways to contribute to the world around us. But we also need to understand that the last, let's just say 5 to 10 years of this stage, so maybe we only get 20 good years, we're going to have some challenges, both in our mental and our physical capabilities. So we need to be mindful. And that's why the years leading up to the golden years, so before 60, if you will, just as a rough estimate, need to be filled with pre planning. How are we going to put ourselves in a position to maximize what that's going to look like? So, whether you're just starting out, you're in your 40s and 50s, or you've already hit into that, what we call the golden years, you still have some time left, and it's no better time than right now. You always can be a lifelong learner. You never end that opportunity, but it's a choice that you get to make. So, for those who are younger, it means taking advantage of decades to come, preparing for what it's going to look like. This is a lifestyle phase. But, excuse me, for those who are already there, it means embracing this opportunity to live life to the fullest. So, what does that look like? What does it mean to live life to the fullest? So, regardless of where you are on that yardstick, the key is to approach each stage with intention, to have a purpose and a willingness to learn. Because when you do, you can ensure that the golden years are actually golden, that they're filled with joy and meaning, and that there's fulfillment. Hence, we live intentionally. So, here's some ideas on how to ensure your golden years are truly a time of joy and meaning and fulfillment. One, plan for and implement a way to stay physically and mentally healthy, active. Enjoy and cultivate strong relationships. We're hardwired to connect. What happens when we start into the retirement phase, we lose many connections, but we did nothing to prepare ourselves for what those connections or how to rebuild new ones. We need to have purpose. We need to have meaning, and therefore we need to embrace what it means to constantly learn, to never stop learning. That's how we start embracing those golden years because we're going to prepare for them moving into it. So we also want to practice gratitude. We want to practice mindfulness. And if you haven't learned mindfulness, gosh, I can't encourage you more to start doing that. Seeking out new experiences means you have to think about it. How are you going to plan for seeking those out? Keep a sense of humor about you moving forward. And above all, stay active, engaged in the world. Know what's going on in the world around you. So, what then? By incorporating said strategies into your approach, you can create a fulfilling, joyful, and meaningful experience during those golden years that we're talking about. Of course, a specific approach will look different. There's no one size fits all because every one of us has a different hobby, different passions, different loves. We have different people associated in our lives as well. The idea is to be proactive and intentional. I want to read a quote to you from James Clear that when I read it, spoke exactly to what we're talking about here. The way to live a full life is to act quickly, particularly as you grow older. It's alarmingly easy to let a year or two, or five, slip by without doing the big things you've always felt like doing. You get into a rhythm, not necessarily one you love, but one you become comfortable repeating. And the grooves of your daily routine become deeper and more established. Side note, that's the neural pathways in our mind that we didn't know anything about until the early 2000s. Speed is perpetually undervalued. That doesn't mean you should feel frantic or rushed. Far from it. It's just going back to intentionality. In fact, it's likely you should eliminate some of the things that make you feel busy and create space for things that will keep you productive, things that you've always wanted to do. But it definitely means you should stop letting the days drift by waiting for the right moment. It will never happen. There is no right moment. Stop acting like there's an infinite amount of time because there's not. This, the way you're living right now, is your one life. You don't have a second chance. What I want to offer you is to go to your click on this QR code and go to our website, hownottoretire.com. And that will give you a whole series or a link to this whole course that we've got prepared for you to go through. It will teach you communication skills. It will go over a lot of different emotional intelligence, how to create intent in your life, and all the different areas that I've researched through this one. At the very end, I'll give you some bonus slides. And at the very end, I'm going to give you 2 videos only on the financial part. My argument is retirement is about your lifestyle. It's a qualitative construct. For years, the financial planning industry and the insurance industry has made it all about money. Money's important, but it's not the most important once you have sufficient for your needs. So again, thanks for watching. I welcome you to go to our website, hownottoretire.com, and take our course. Sign up for our podcast and get a couple complimentary gifts along the way. Thanks again. Take care.